Hi, I'm Georgina Miller, and I'm here in the wonderful Lime Tree Theatre in Limerick for this year's Performing Arts Forum, which has become the landmark gathering for the performing arts sector in Ireland. And I'm here to ask the attendees 3 juicy questions. Thinking about change in the performing arts, what's one thing we need to protect or hold on to?
I think it's the sense of community, Georgina. It's the fact that we all come together for 2 days like this, the support of one another and the generosity of spirit. That's something I would keep, I think.
We need to keep creative production services funding.
I think we need to protect the smaller theatre companies. I think a lot of the funding is getting funneled into larger institutions and companies, and I think we're starting to lose the individuality and the excitement of a smaller company doing something a little bit off the wall and a little bit wild. So I think we need to protect that.
I'd say we probably need to protect the creativity of everyone. And I think in order to protect the creativity, we need to just acknowledge it more, because there's a lot of creative people out here, but they don't have maybe the spaces to be as creative as they can be. So sometimes they just push it to the side and then eventually they just forget about it because they don't have the space to be creative.
Definitely we need to protect our time, and I mean time to hang out with each other creatively. I think all of our time has been chopped up into little pieces, and we are just increasingly busy, and there's much less of an opportunity to just hang out and create and think and learn about each other.
One thing we need to protect and hold on to, I think, is artist first work that's created by artists for artists, allowing them to be creative completely and wholly for them and by them, and not be held back by things like rigid funding opportunities or things that are out of their control.
I think we need to hold on to our integrity and the work that we do. It has to be authentic and coming from a good place. So I think integrity is really important, that we don't sell ourselves out in the arts.
Yeah, I mean, in Ireland we have such a community, a supportive community in the arts. I think regardless of what happens at a government level, or even at the more grassroots level, and whatever way that develops, we just need to retain that community of support. Organisationally and even within artists, there's always been that real culture of supporting each other, so we'd love to see that retained.
I think we need to protect the live experience. There is nothing more magical than being in a space with people, and I think because we have access to stories so easily in our pockets, I think we need to really protect that space of why are we gathering together to tell and share in stories. And I think that should be at the core of everything that we do.
I think we need to hold on to more of this, the connection, the coming together, strength in numbers, and understanding each other.
Oh my God, you need to hold on and protect the artists themselves and the way that their general well-being is, so that we feel safe and we don't feel exposed all the time, and we don't work for free on many occasions just to be seen.
Basic income for artists 100% needs to be extended, expanded and retained.
I think we need to protect or hold on to the integrity of creativity and connections between each other. I think that's really important, to hold on to each other as a community.
Well, as Socrates said, the secret of change is focusing all of your energy not on fixing the old, but maybe building the new. Not on fighting the old, but building the new. So as we go forward and change stuff up, I like to think maybe that us old ones might be able to help with the new.
What's one thing that absolutely has to change?
Funding. Sorry.
How we get funded. It's stop-start, it's start all over again. You get a little bit of funding, you put your heart and soul into it, and then the funding's gone. At least it is for my small company in the business. And then when you get funding, You have to start all over again. You have to bring in new people. So you can't build momentum. You can't run a company. You can't even form a company. That day seems to be gone unless you're big and famous and have been around for years.
I think it's the exploitation. I think the fact that we all think this is a vocation and it's all of our dreams and we all love it so much is exploited to kind of work for cheap, to make the work for nothing. That's one thing I would 100% change.
We need to make funding available for theatre artists to produce work, not just develop work.
More money, more support from the littlest of independent artists making work locally, community focused, to the bigger, grandiose, travelling, showcasing what Irish artists can do, what can make.
The working conditions. We need to stop burning out artists and creatives and make sure that we're giving them the support system that we can still put the shows on, because they will, but to make sure that they're doing it in a healthy environment that is good for everyone.
I think some of our funding structures from an Arts Council point of view needs to be changed. For example, touring has become very, very inaccessible. It's very difficult. Costs have gone up a lot, but the cost of living as well. There's not very many repertory companies out there touring or anything like that, and that needs to change. I think the landscape needs to change.
I think the expectation of what we can just pull out of the bag. Touring has changed dramatically. No longer do we have these longer stints within venues. It's very much one day in, one day up, same night out, onto the next venue. That will push people out, or it'll burn people out. And I don't think it's maybe writers, directors don't necessarily see it, but certainly, again, I'm biased. I think the crew will really feel that, and I see it with receiving companies in here throughout the season.
One thing for me that really has to change is access and inclusivity in the arts. While the industry is making great strides, there still could be more that can be done.
Definitely, we need to prioritise being greener in all of our practices. And I know it's easy to say, yes, I want to be greener, but I do think actually it's a hard choice to make, because there are sacrifices to be made, and I think that's the scary thing, but I think it's just absolutely vital.
So I feel like the one thing that absolutely has to change would have to be, once again, the space for creativity.
Life. To live is to change. And as my mother used to say, a change is as good as a rest. Change is hard work, but we just need to persevere. We need to keep going and look for the changes.
Well, absolutely, what has to change, I think, is the way that we look that art is only essential when we need it. Okay? So when there was pandemic, art became very essential. Now, I understand we're living in difficult times, but those difficult times as well show us that art is an essential part of our survival. So if we take art as essential part of a human being, then we will not be putting cuts to funding that then have a huge impact on the whole industry.
Accessibility. Accessibility is so important. How can we make sure everybody is at the table? Because all stories deserve to be heard.
The lack of understanding each other and the lack of cohesion between us all, our funders and organisations, independents, our boards.
I think one thing that absolutely has to change is some of the insular natures and a little bit of the clickiness that can happen within theatre. I think people need to be a little bit more open to receiving emerging artists and new people and broadening their connections and horizons. And that's why events like this are great, because it allows people to meet and connect and sort of change their own little inner circles.
On a personal level, what kind of change are you committing to?
Not doing it for cheap. I really want to try and think up of different ways. We obviously all want to make the work, but how can we make the work for €4,000 and not exploit people? That's the thing I keep coming back to. How can we make sure that it's fast and furious and fresh, but we maintain an integrity of paying people and supporting people to live and sustain themselves?
I'm committing to educating the younger artists and technicians coming up through the scene and making sure that they have the right support systems in place and that they feel comfortable in the industry they're working in and feel supported, that they can create good work.
I'm committing to a change of an ever-ceasing change in my work. I want to keep moving forward, keep connecting with people, meet new forms of art that inspire me, excite me, and make me uncomfortable.
On a personal level, the change I'm committing to is reaching out to more people and talking to more people about the work that I'm doing as an independent artist.
I really want to commit to a much more greener approach to my work. I'd love to, and the work that I work on and support.
Well, I am committing to not giving up.
Well, to be smug, I do. I've made the commitment to at least severely cut down on travelling by plane. I used to travel a lot internationally for work. I still do, but I now do it without flying. So that's one kind of practical thing. I also constantly try to resist the being busy and wanting to make pockets of time to hang out with people and get to know people and create new relationships with my collaborators. It doesn't always work, but I try.
I'm just not going to be as hard on myself. I'm changing my mode of employ, so I'm just going to pick and choose a little bit more and just go a little easier on myself. And those around me as well. I've learned a lot of patience over the years.
I'm on a kind of ecological journey, so I suppose any change I make would be around sustainability and stuff like that. So that's my bag at the moment.
I'm just trying to keep going, and I'm just being tenacious, and I think that's the only thing I can do, and keep hustling, because every time I want something to happen I have to hustle for it. And my big thing would be getting people to answer their emails,
Moving forward more positively.
Well, actually, I'm not changing because I'm not giving up. I have to keep doing it. So there won't be any personal change in that aspect. But I will try and mind myself a little more and be a little more careful of myself and not give so much so quickly. But that came with age. That came with age and experience.